Be welcome to English at its roots. Today we are going to see the future tense in English. Now, pay attention to the fact that we are not going to cover how to make the future, as most of my viewers are native speakers, they have no necessity of learning how to construct the future. This is a historical overview. I will have a different video just for how to express the future in modern English, but this is a historical analysis of the future since the beginning of the English language in the Old English period until now. So let's start. Well, first of all, we should tell apart the three periods of the English language. Not everyone knows about that. So the Old English period from 550 until 1100. Middle English from 1100 until 1600. And modern English from 1600 until now. So this is more or less the periods, the dates of when the period started and finished. Old English, Middle English, and Modern English. We will go through how to make the future in all those periods. And let's start with the Old English period. So the first thing we should see about this period is that there was no future. There was no future in Old English, at least not in the sense that we use today. We say that, for example, let me get this ruler. We say that there is a timeline and there is the past, the present, and the future. And it's very straightforward. What is the past, what is the present, what is the future? And then we have our verb tenses organized very neatly. We have, for example, the simple past, the simple present, and the simple future. But that was not the case in Old English, and there was a reason for that. And that's because the future is uncertain. Some things are necessary, so you know they will happen, but other things, they are contingent. And we will see about that term later. But basically, that means that not everything is bound to happen in a certain way, so the future is uncertain. So there were a few ways of expressing the future, and the first one is with the word beon. Look here, beon. That's the verb to be in Old English. And so we have a sentence here, and that's our example. Winter beeth child. Winter beeth child. Winter is cold. Winter is cold. Right? So winter is cold. Winter beeth child. And why do I say that is future? I say that is future because the verb beon in this context, it doesn't mean is. It means will be. Or if you want to see this in a different way, that is winter is always cold. So that's what linguists call gnomic aspect. Winter beeth child. Winter is, always is. So winter was cold last year. Winter is cold now. And depending on global warming, I hope that winter will be cold next year too. So, beon. So if you wanted to convey the idea of present, you would use a different verb like winter feels cold or winter remains cold or something like that. But for this beon here, you would have this meaning of winter will be cold or winter is always cold, right? A different way of referring to the future is through adverbs, very popular among languages. You just have the present tense here, wadath. They walk. They walk. And then you have the adverb, the word that tells about the time. Tomorien, tomorien. Tomorrow, tomorrow. They walk tomorrow. So they walk tomorrow. Here wadat tomorien. Here wadat tomorien. So you have the present construction, and then you just add the adverb that tells you or people around you that we are talking about the future rather than the present, right? So the adverbs here wadat tomorien. Tomorien is the adverb here. It indicates that we are talking about the future, not the present. And then we have motan. Motan. I know it looks and it sounds very familiar, and it sounds like must in modern English. It does sound like that, and maybe that's because this is the ancestor of must in modern English. But there was a change here. Motan didn't mean must. At that time, the meaning of motan was closer, much closer to having the permission, as we have today the word may. May I come in? May I do that? So, motan, motan. And here is an example, a real example. Mot ich drinkan. Mot ich drinkan. May I drink? May I drink? Mot ich drinkan. So, mot is a conjugation of motan. So, mot ich drinkan. Mot ich drinkan. Right? May I drink? Do I have the permission to drink? Maybe the drink is not mine, the beverage belongs to someone else, and I say, may I drink? Okay? Now, maran is to have the power. This verb looks like and sounds like may. And in reality, may comes from this verb, maran. But the meaning is different. One more time, the meaning is different. Maran. Maran here means to have power. Think of the word might, which is similar to the word power. Power comes from Latin, and might is just English. Yeah. So maran to have power. Each mit handum ne mei helvon hierarchan. What have you just said? Well, what I read was each I mit handum with my hands, ne mei I with my hands cannot helvon hierarchan. Heaven reach. I with hands cannot heaven reach. I can't reach heaven with my hands. It's too high, so I can't reach heaven with my hands. I don't have the power. I may be tall, but not tall enough to reach heaven with my hands, so that's to have power. Now, the next one is kunnan. There's a reason why I'm taking too long, or apparently too long, to pronounce the N here. That's because this should take longer. Kunnan. So that means to be able to have the necessary knowledge, to be able to, just like modern English when we say, I can play the piano. So I have the necessary knowledge. I am able to, I know how to, right? So kunnan. This word is slightly related to the word kenalan, which is to recognize. So this is in the sense of recognizing or having already recognized something. So now that I can recognize it, now that I've done it before, I can do it again. So I know how to, right? So here's the example. Ich kann el lernen. Ich kann el lernen. I can teach you. I can teach you, right? Lernen, teach you. Okay, it's not to learn. To learn is lernen. Lernen, to teach. I can teach you. El is you. So I know how to. I know how to teach you because I have the knowledge, right? And then we have argon, argon. And that word is the ancestor of our modern ought to, right? This one right here. Let me show you. No, not working. Let me use this one. Ought to, right? So you want to do this, you want to do that, right? And what is the relation here? What is the connection? Ahn, the meaning of ahn was to own, to possess something. So the example here is hier Achtung siehe. Here Achtung siehe. Siehe is victory. Here, we saw here somewhere. Oh, here, they possess the victory. So if they possess the victory, they are bound to win, right? So that's one of the ways of giving this idea of future. They possess the victory, so they are very likely to win the war, to win the battle, right? So all these verbs, even though they have a meaning that for us doesn't look like future, those verbs were very important in the process of constructing the future. So for example, mot ich trinken. If I have the permission and I am willing to do that, I will probably drink. Machen, to have the power. I can't reach heaven with my hands, so I don't have the power. If I did, I would probably try. And können, I know how to, and if I know how to, I am going to do it. And Ahn, we have just seen Ahn. Now let's see Schulen. Okay, so you see this verb here, Schulen, and you're probably very tempted to pronounce this as Schulen, but the pronunciation here is Schulen. Suppose that instead of this C, we had an H, Schulen, right? Schulen. And Schulen gave birth to a modern word, should, and also shall. Should and shall, right? And what was the original meaning of this word? The original meaning was related to a debt. And the original meaning was to owe, to be in debt. So, for example, we have here, you've said to me shalt. You've said to me shalt, right? You've said to me shalt. Give, what? You, me, owe. Give me what you owe to me, what you are in debt of. Give what you owe me, or me owe in Old English. Give me what you owe, right? So suppose that there is a person that for some reason bought something and didn't pay, so there is a debt, and that was the word Schulden. And then you can think, how can this be related to the future, to the way that we construct the future in Old English? Well, if you think of, for example, let's say, again, we have the ruler, we have the timeline, and then we have the present, right here, the present. And let's suppose that something happens in the present. For example, let's say that you open a certain door. If you open that certain door, and let's say you open 3 other doors, so you have 4 doors which are open, and so the future can enter through one of those 4 doors. It can't enter through the 5th door because the 5th door is closed. So you can think of the future owing something to the present, or the present owing something to the future, because the present is built upon the future is built upon the present. So there is this sense of Schulden. Now we also have the word willen, and this is the verb to want. We still use that word, that's will, right? I'm willing to do this, I'm willing to do that. Willen. Okay, there is something very interesting here before we move on. Willen here is not direct, I want. No, this verb here is more like I would like. I'm willing to, I would like to do this, I would like to do that. It's not straightforward, it's not so assertive, right? And so let's see the example. Ich ville undergitan. Ich ville undergitan. Ich ville undergitan. I would like to understand. Undergitan, understand. In Old English we have several words that could be translated as understanding. So undergitan, andgitan, understanden, all those words are very similar in the sense of conveying the meaning of understanding. So each, I would like to understand. Now notice that there is no to here. It's just I would like understand. So I would like understand. So if I'm willing to understand, if I have the desire, and there's nothing stopping me, I will probably do it. So ich ville, I will. Does that ring a bell? We still use that. I will play, I will read, I will sleep, I will travel, etc. We form the future with this word nowadays. With the modern version of this verb, willen, will, right? And then we have the subjunctive. The subjunctive is very interesting because we don't have a very strong subjunctive in modern English. We do have the subjunctive in sentences like, for example, if I were you, if I were you, if I were a carpenter, for example, and that's not true. I'm supposing, right? If I were you, I'm not you, I don't intend to be you, but if I were you, that's subjunctive, right? But the subjunctive in Old English was very strong. It was used throughout the language, and it was very rich, and it conveyed a lot of meaning in itself. And one of those meanings is the future. So instead of using one of these verbs, you could just use the subjunctive with any verb. And let me show you how that happens. Each what, I know, I know. So what is a conjugation of witan, W-I-T-A-N, witan, which is to know. Each Well, it's not 可能，可能 is to know how to. Each what, I know that, that is that. Fu, you knew. I know that you knew. So the first what, the what is present, I know, and wheat is past. You knew. I know that you knew, right? Kind of right, sort of right. Because wheat here, it's very important to notice that in terms of conjugations, and I don't have a conjugation table here because verbs in Old English, they were all conjugated, so they had different forms for different tenses, for different persons. But one thing we should notice here is that vitae, it's not just past, like for example, a simple past. It's past subjunctive. And as I said, when we are talking about subjunctive, we are talking about something which is not certain. Sometimes we are talking about contrary to fact statements, or we are talking about wish. That's also possible. That falls into the span of the subjunctive in Old English. So a much better translation here would be each what that through vitae, I know that you maybe know. That you maybe know. Okay? I would like to make a correction here. I said this is past subjunctive. I don't know what I had in my mind. This is present subjunctive. Present subjunctive. So subjunctive was conjugated in the present and in the past, and this is present. So I know that you know. I know that you know, but this know is not the same know as we have here. Did you understand? No. Okay, so I know that you know, but this is subjunctive. So I know that maybe you will know. Right? So it's present. Think of the subjunctive this way. It's present, right? Present subjunctive. But it's not so certain that that's the case. So I'm just supposing. Think of when in English we say something like, suppose we fail the exam. Suppose we fail the exam. Can you agree that everything in this sentence is in the present, but we are not talking about the present, right? Suppose we fail the exam. We are talking about something that will happen in 2 days, 3 days, in the future, right? So it's something we suppose. I know that you supposedly know. So I know that you have the power, you have the skill or something else to know, right? Now this is past. Each viste that fuiste. I knew that you knew, right? Let me show you. This word right here, viste, is the past form of vidam, which is to know. And this word here, although it's written the same way, it's actually the subjunctive, the past subjunctive. Coincidentally, in this case, they are the same words, or at least they are written the same way. But this is not the same as this one. So the one at the bottom is not the same as the first one, which is just the past, right? And the second one is past as well, but past subjunctive. So I knew that you knew. What do you think that is? What is that? If this is subjunctive, I knew that you supposedly knew. I knew that you supposedly knew. What is that? That is, I knew that you would know. So when I say supposedly, I leave the possibility that you will One day, I don't know when, you will know. So I give the possibility. So when I say supposedly, I am giving you the possibility, right? So I knew that you supposedly knew, or I knew that you would know, okay? And finally we have ran. Ran was also used to form the future in Old English, but I'm not going to explain ran right now because we will see that later, so you can start thinking about how this verb was important for the future in Old English, but I'm not giving you the answer now, just at the end of the video. Moving on, let's see the Middle English period. The Middle English period. We don't have many things here, actually. What we can say about this period is that it was similar to Old English in terms of the future. So we didn't have much change in that period. One thing that I would like to emphasize is that there was a slight prevalence of Willan and Schulan. And Willan sometimes was written as Willan, and Schulan was written as Schulen. Right? These are the Middle English spellings, right? Spellings. But that's just Willan. Willan is Willan, and Schulen is Schulan, right? So in Middle English, that's everything I have to say right now. Of course, many things happen from 1100 until 1600, but what is really important for us is this. There was a slight prevalence of Willan and Schulan, so these two right here, Schulan and Willan, over all the other verbs. Okay? Now, Modern English period. Modern English period from 1600 until now. And what is so important in this period? One feature of the Modern English period is that things became more confusing, right? Notice I have this and this for this period, so it's a lot. The first thing that we noticed in the Modern English period is that shall and will, they are not just, they don't just have a slight prevalence. Now they are the very auxiliary verbs used for the future. Shall represents necessity and will represents contingency. So as I said, contingency, maybe that word is not familiar for some of my viewers. Necessity, think of possibility. Something is possible, right? But that's possible of just one outcome. So that's necessary because it's possible of just one outcome. Now, if something is possible of more than one outcome, you don't know which way will prevail. So that's contingency, right? Contingency, that's when you have more than one possibility, more than one outcome, so you just have to wait and see. That's contingency. And it's very logical that shall would represent necessity because shall was all about a debt. It meant to owe, right? To owe. Give what you owe. So it's very logical that this word would take the function of necessity, and will took the function of contingency, because when I will, when I'm willing, when I want, when I would like, when I have a desire, I don't know if that can happen because there are other factors. It's not necessary that my will be done, right? And what happened to the other verbs? The other verbs, they became modal verbs. So if you know Modern English, and I'm sure you know Modern English if you have watched this video up until this point, you are probably familiar with this terminology, modal verbs. Verbs like can, could, may, might, what else? Must, ought to, etc. They are modal verbs. So we think of them as modal verbs, verbs that express the mode of a certain action, right? So we say can, instead of I play, I can play. So that's the mode of my action. So what happened here is that these verbs, they were reinterpreted not as verbs that helped in the construction of the future, but verbs that express the mode of other verbs. So we have, let me show you. Motan became must. Maan became may and might. Kunnan became can and could. And on became ought to, right? So this was the transformation. So all these verbs, they were categorized as modal verbs, but will and shall were seen as the proper verbs to construct the future. Shall for necessity and will for contingency. And why is there this sign here and this sign here? What this means is that shall was used more often than will. So you would come across people using shall much more often than will. And that's understandable because it's much easier to just convey the idea of something being necessary to happen than using will in the sense of contingency, right? Let me erase this right here, or to. Okay. Right. Now, moving on. If I said that in modern English, and that's the language that we speak now, if I said that shall and will, they are used to construct the future, then why don't we see the word shall nowadays in most contexts? So there was a process in which shall would drop in many occasions. And one of the reasons why that happened, it's very interesting. It's a change in the meaning of shall. So shall started to mean coercion. So think of this. A very easy way to understand this situation is that shall meant necessity, but then you have a sentence like this one right here. He shall not escape this time. If you think about it, one should not use shall here, because escaping or not escaping is not necessary. It has nothing to do with necessity. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a thief. Maybe the thief will escape. Maybe the thief won't escape. I don't know, that's contingent. But I'm using shall, which is for necessity. So if you use shall in this context, what are you trying to say? What you are trying to say is that you will use coercion if necessary, so you don't want the thief to escape. And if the thief really tries hard to escape, you will find a way to stop him, right? It's a male because we have he here, so you will try to stop him. So you will use coercion. Okay, so shall started to be seen as a verb denoting coercion, and you don't want to be misunderstood in this case. Coercion, necessity, and contingency. You don't want to be understood as someone expressing coercion when you are actually expressing necessity. So imagine you say, hey, you shall not escape, right? And in your mind, you are thinking, oh, that's a necessity. You will not escape. I don't know, because the security here is very strong, so you will not escape. But now we have also the sense of coercion. So If you say, you will not escape, that can sound like a threat. You can try to escape, but I will shoot you, right? So people would avoid shall because of this duality, coercion versus necessity. And to make things worse for the word shall, we had a period in English which goes from the 17th century until the 18th century, in which there was a convention that shall should be used just with the first person. So I shall, right, but you will, he will not, you shall, he shall. So shall was reduced to the function of the first person, and that's first person singular, and also first person plural, so we shall, right? And with that, shall lost its place with the second person and the third person. So as we can see, there was a tendency of making shall weaker, right? And then something else happened, and that's reductions. We have a lot of reductions when we speak, and we reduce words all the time. And notice this thing right here. Let me show you very carefully. We have will, right? Will is one of the two verbs we have for the future. And now let's just reduce. Will, will, will. So, for example, instead of saying, I will go to the park, I can say, I'll go to the park. And some people will go as far as saying just, I'll go to the park. I'll go to the park, right? So double L is the abbreviation of, or the reduction of will, right? Let me change this into something better. Okay, now it's better. Now, shall. What is the reduction of shall? It's also double L, so I shall see, you shall see, he shall not escape. He'll, double L. He'll not escape. He will not escape this time. So can you see the confusion here? The reductions are the same, and for this reason, distinguishing whether people are using will and shall became more difficult. So as we saw, shall was becoming weaker because of this, and now we don't even know what people are talking about. Are they using will? Are they using shall? And that's how we come finally to the death of shall. And that's how we come to the death of circumstantiality. So as you can see here, in Old English we had many ways of creating the future tense, and all these ways they conveyed different meanings, so different types of future, right? Many ways. But when we come to modern English, we start with just two words, shall and will, and then shall becomes weak, and we end up with just will, or its reduced form, double L. So now we have what we can call an impersonal future. So that was a personal future, depending on the word that depending on the word that you would use, you would convey not just the idea of a future, but also how that future would come about. And here we have just two options, necessity and contingency, and here it's just the future, right? So it's not detailed at all. It's just the future. So that was a process of making the future in English more impersonal. Okay? So that's the death of shall, and that's also the death of circumstantiality, right? Yes, right, based on this. But in general, things are rarely that simple. Now, let's see the state of things in modern English in the 21st century. We have all this. I'm not going to go into details of how we make the future in the 21st century. I will have a different video just for this. So everything I say here, it's more like a summary, right? I would have to use more minutes than I have to explain this part. So this is a summary, okay? We have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 ways of making the future in modern English. So you can think, what happened? We were supposed to have just one way, which is will. How did we end up having so many ways of making the future? Let's talk about that. So the first thing is will. We already know will. Will won the battle against shall. So of course will is used nowadays in the 21st century, and that's used a lot. So I will speak, I will have speak, I will be speaking, I will have been speaking, right? Will is used as an auxiliary verb nowadays. But we still have the word shall being used by some people and in some occasions. And one of those occasions is when we say things like shall I, shall we, in the sense of, is that good? Is that allowed? Is that wise? Shall I? Shall we? Right? A question. Shall I? Shall we? So that survives. Right? This is a fossilized use of shall, which survives nowadays. But some people, they will go as far as preserving this paradigm right here. I shall, you will, he will. So some people will use I shall for the first person. They will not use will, just shall. So some people preserve this, right? And that's one of the ways in which shall is preserved. One more thing. There's this blue wave right here because I wanted to separate these two from these three, because these two are just the auxiliary verbs and these are concerned with the present. Why do I say that? So the first of these three ways of making the future is adverbs. And what do I mean with that? Remember that in Old English we had adverbs turning present sentences into future. He wadat tomorrow, they walk tomorrow. We still have that. So that is a way of making the future with adverbs. So think of a sentence like, let me think. I work at 8 p.m. tomorrow. I work at 8 p.m. tomorrow. So that's present. I work at 8 p.m. but I use the word tomorrow. So that's future, right? We also use the present continuous, and we have no need of an adverb. We just use the present continuous in the sense of the future. So for example, I'm going to the party. I'm going to the party. Maybe when I say I'm going to the party, it means I'm on the way. I'm going to the party, or I'm just getting ready to go to the party. But in other occasions, that means, yeah, I'm going to the party tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to the party tomorrow. It doesn't matter what you say, I'm going to the party, right? Or, for example, if a mother says to her child, you are not going to the party, right? It's implicit that she's talking about the future because she knows, and he or she, the child, the son or the daughter, knows that the party will happen in the future. So you are not going to the party. You are not going to the party, right? So present continuous. We can use present continuous. Although it's called present continuous, we can use that for the future. We can also use be plus infinitive. Be plus infinitive. So for example, when we want to issue an order, we can say something like, suppose I'm a principal at a school, and I say kids are to attend school tomorrow, even if it's snowing. Kids are to attend, so they must do that, right? That's an order about something happening in the future. Also, when something is likely to happen, we can also use be plus infinitive. Like, for example, let me think of a sentence. Yeah, this is to happen. That's the best example that came to my mind. Or the stock market is to crash. Not the best example, but I suppose you know what I mean. You are to, or they are to, it's likely to happen, right? And so I have a timeline here, and I have these guys right here. And they are very important because they are very similar. This is going to. You probably know how to use going to, of course. Going to, you probably use that every day, several times a day. But what does it really mean? Remember that I said I wouldn't go through on to go. And I will talk about that later. And the later time is now. Going to. Yeah? So run, go. Run, go. But what is the connection to go and the future? Yeah, we know that when we say I'm going to such and such and such, that's the future. But we are so used to that. Have we ever questioned why that means the future? Well, the verb to go in many languages, and Old English is one of them, and Modern English is also one of them. The verb to go has two meanings. One is to move away from the speaker, away, to go. And then we have the verb to come, to move towards the speaker, right? But there is a different meaning for this verb, which is to start to move. So let me get this ruler again. It's very useful for this explanation. We have a movement from here to here, right? So let's suppose that I'm here. So something is moving away, something is going, right? Now something is moving towards me, and that's coming. Now the other meanings for to go and to come are, in the case of run or to go, to start, to move. So right here, to go, right here, to go. But if I want to say that I'm in the middle, I'm on the way, I say to come, Can you think of an example of this construction, of this meaning being used in modern English? Yes. So, for example, let's suppose that your wife or your husband is waiting for you. So there's an event, and you are getting ready, but your wife or your husband says, You are late. Hurry up. You are late. We are late. And you say, right, I'm coming. I'm coming. So if you think about that, why do you say I'm coming? If coming is moving towards the speaker, I'm coming. Coming towards who? Why do I say that? I should say I'm going, right? I'm going away from the place that I am here. Now I'm going towards, I don't know, the exit. So I should say that. Why do we all say I'm coming? We say that because we are referring to the second meaning of these words, to go and to come. When I say I'm coming, I mean I'm on the way. I'm on the way. I'm in the middle of the process. So I'm not just getting ready. I'm almost done. It's more like I'm already moving. It feels like I'm already moving, right? So I used to come. And to go would mean I have just started moving, or I'm prepared to move. I haven't started to move, but I'm really prepared. And that would be the second meaning of to go, right, or run. And that's what survives here in this construction, going to. For some reason, every time that I come across any explanation about going to on the internet or on books, it's always something about the weather. So for example, if you see a cloud, a dark cloud, and you say it's going to rain, it's going to rain. Based on what you see in front of you, you say it's going to rain. So it's not raining, right? It's not in the middle of the process of raining, but you see indications. You see the symptoms, you see the signs that it's about to rain. And so you say it's starting to move, it's starting to rain, or it's so ready to rain that I don't know, maybe within 1 minute it will start to rain because it's really dark, right? So that's the meaning, that's the etymology of the word, and that's how the word was used in Old English, and that's how the word is used today. I'm starting to change, I'm starting to move, right? Now, before we go over these other constructions, I would like to talk about this timeline here. Suppose this is the past, and this is the present, and this is the future, right? A very common explanation on the internet about going to, present continuous, and will, which doesn't cover all the uses of these constructions, but is also at the same time very useful, goes like this. Will is something you decide in the present. Going to, you have decided right before. And present continuous, you decided in the past, you are in the middle of the process. And so some people, they refer to this difference as will, I have just decided. Going to, I have decided but I haven't planned. And present continuous, I have decided and planned. It's a very useful explanation, but can you see the roots of that explanation? How that is actually related to all the history of these constructions? When I say that will is related to the present, what I'm really saying is that I will, I wish, I desire, I'm willing, right? So that's the present. That's not the reality. The thing is not happening. I just have this desire, right? This urge. When I say going to, remember, to go sometimes means to have just started, You have just started the movement, the change. So when people say you have decided but you haven't planned, that's basically the same thing here. I have just started, or I'm ready to start. I haven't started, but I'm so ready. So I'm going to. I'm starting now. And present continuous, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of the process. So that's maybe the reason why they say it was decided and planned, and now it's present continuous. It's in the middle of the process. Yeah, so that's a very popular explanation, and now you know how that relates to the very history of these constructions. Okay, these ones right here, they are very similar to going to in the sense of something just starting to happen. The first one is about to. I don't have much to say about this construction. It's just going to, but it has this sense of more urgency, like something's not just going to happen, that is so close to happening. That's about to. So it's about to happen, right? I don't know. It's about to rain, right? So I'm looking at the cloud. It's very dark. So it's about to rain, right? In a few seconds. We also have on the verge of, on the brink of, and on the point of. Same thing. Something is about to happen. It's urgent, right? The only thing I would like to say about these three words is that brink sounds a bit more urgent, right? So on the verge of, on the brink of, on the point of, and brink sounds a bit more urgent. Then we have due to. This is related to going to in the sense of something that is starting to happen. But this is also related to the idea of a timetable, a schedule. So the train is due to arrive at 8 p.m. The train is due to arrive at 8 p.m. So it's a timetable, due to, right? We have these two, sure to, bound to. They have the sense of certainty. So I'm sure, or something is sure to happen, right? Like, the conflagration is sure to hurt some people. Yeah, tragic. Or the conflagration or the floods are bound to damage some houses, right? Some houses. So sure to, bound to, it's related. They are related to the sense of certainty. Sure is the same thing as to be certain, and bound is related to the idea of a bond, of a link. So you can think of a certain situation is bound to come about because of, I don't know, maybe necessity or fate, right? There was a very popular way of talking about fate. In Old English, you would use the word bound and also the verb to bind. These two, set to, poised to, they are related to the sense of being ready, right? So let's say that 10 minutes before this video started, I was set to, I was poised to start the video. So I was still, but I was ready. I was still, but I was thinking about the things that I should say, the things that I had prepared, and so I was ready. So set to, poised to, in the sense of ready. So all these constructions here, they have the sense of something starting to happen. So they are all related to going to, but they have their particular contributions, right, to this basic meaning of something just starting to happen. Well, that was a long video, but that was the idea, to make a long video about this topic. On the internet, I haven't found this topic explained this way, so I thought this would be a very good contribution. And so before we finish the video, before we say goodbye, I would like to ask you a question, and a very interesting one. Can you see here that these verbs were used for the future, and only Schulen and Whelan kept being interpreted as verbs, as auxiliary verbs for the future, and that the other verbs, they were classified as modes of verbs? Well, so here is the question. It's more like a philosophical question. Do you think that the modes of verbs nowadays, should they be included here as verbs that convey the meaning of a future, or maybe whoever made this distinction between shall and will and modes of verbs was right? Are these verbs related to the future, or are they just telling us the modes of the verbs? Because here, clearly, here, they are related to the future. So that's the question. You can answer that. I don't have any answer. I don't have any opinion on that. I don't know anyone that has an opinion on that. So we can research the topic together, right? So that was all, and I hope you liked it. And if you did, I would like you to press the like button and subscribe. It's very important. When other people say you should like the video and subscribe, that's very important. We can only make videos like this if we have viewers, people that will see the video, so YouTube will send this video to more people, and we will be able to bring this kind of content to the internet. So if you like the video, press the like button and subscribe, and that's all. Oh, and don't forget, I will post a second video which that will not address the history of the future in English. It will just address this part right here, the future in the 21st century, because as I said, this is very complicated. Sometimes when you think you are going to use going to, you have to use will. Sometimes the rules are reversed, and in one occasion it's right to use going to, and that same occasion but with a different person in a different country, you should use will, and in some places there is no difference at all. Some people have just merged all those constructions into the same thing. So that's the reason why I will have a second video on just the modern 21st century ways of constructing the future, right? So if you like the video, press the like button and subscribe, and thank you for watching.